More and more people today are discovering that mounting and laminating adds value to photographs, posters, documents, just about any visual material that needs to be displayed or protected. Dry mounting with seal mounting adhesives enhances appearance by eliminating imperfections due to age, use, and wear. Dry mounting adds durability so precious documents and photos withstand handling and storage. Laminating with Seal's specially designed films is a practical protection alternative. They're lightweight, won't crack or chip, are scratch-resistant, and can offer UV shielding that protects brilliant colors against the damaging effects of light. Seal Products has been a leader in these fields for over half a century, with a broad range of equipment and supplies, technical expertise, and product support, all aimed at helping you provide the very best professional mounting and laminating service to your customers. After all, satisfied customers tell others, and that's the best kind of advertising there is. Seal's mechanical presses, the Compress 110S, the Jumbo 160M, the Commercial 210M, and the Masterpiece 500T are all built to the same high-quality standards to give you trouble-free, high-quality performance, year after profitable year. A thermostatically controlled heated platen assures high-quality dry mounting and laminating of posters, photographs, and other art. And the pressure setting quickly adjusts for the different thicknesses of foam core boards, masonite, mount boards, and fabrics. You can use your mechanical press for both dry mounting and laminating, so you'll be able to provide a full range of services for your customers. And they're extremely practical. The compact design is capable of handling large, oversized work in sections for even more versatility. Seal's mechanical presses are easy to learn to use, and we're going to share with you some techniques and tips that can help you increase production and improve your profitable performance. Successful mounting and laminating begins in the work area. Ideally, the press should be placed away from dust and high traffic, and cleanliness is the key. You can increase production by keeping all supplies and materials near the press. Not only does that save time, it also keeps everything at the same temperature and humidity level. Seal recommends you keep a piece of double-thickness glass on top of the work table. This way you get double use from the table's work surface. You can prepare one job on top of the glass while a mounted or laminated piece is cooling underneath. Before doing any work, check and clean the press, especially the platen. Any adhesive or other foreign matter will cause blemishes on the finished work. Use Seal's Platen Cleaner Compound or Unseal Solvent on a lint-free rag to clean the platen. Never use any sharp or abrasive materials to scrape the platen. They could damage the surface and leave marks on your work. Check the condition of your release material, too. It's essential to keeping your press and artwork clean. Don't use release paper that's wrinkled or torn. It'll leave marks on your work. Better to use a new piece of release paper whenever you're in doubt. Try making a folder of release paper. You'll find it's a lot easier to handle than separate sheets of release paper. Besides cleaning, you'll have to adjust the pressure periodically, especially if your work spans a wide range of thicknesses. When the press is closed with materials inside it, the handles should make a 45-degree angle with respect to the base. As you can see, press adjustments will need to be made as different thickness materials are used. Many owners keep their presses adjusted for the thickest normal board and adjust for thinner work by using shims. This saves the need to constantly readjust pressure settings. To make an adjustment, pull the handle down and lock the press closed. That'll relieve tension on the locking rings so they can be loosened. Now open the press and insert the thickest board you normally use, such as a foam board. Close the press and turn each adjustment screw the same amount, clockwise here to lower the handle to the 45-degree angle. Lock the press closed and tighten the lock rings. Now the press is set for foam boards. Let's begin our demonstration by mounting this poster onto foam board. The foam board doesn't absorb much moisture, but paper artwork does. So, for best results, posters like this should be pre-dried before mounting. Just put it in the press face down on top of another clean paper for around 45 seconds. Then open the press momentarily and close it for an additional 30 seconds. Once the poster's pre-dried, let it cool. Meanwhile, we'll get the board and adhesive ready. We'll use color mount adhesive, a permanent, dry mounting tissue. It should be cut slightly oversized. A snitty cutter trims it easily. Position the color mount and the poster. Always use release paper between the selector tacking iron and artwork to protect the work from dirt and damage. Seal recommends tacking in only one place, along a side, so the artwork can smooth out as the pressure is applied. Seal's selection guide shows 205 degrees as the recommended temperature for color mount adhesive. You may be able to work as low as the minimum temperature setting. It's safer, but you'll have to leave the work in longer. Once you've positioned the work inside, check the pressure. Remember, we've already set it for the foam board. The color mount instruction sheet suggests 1.5 minutes for this size material. After mounting, let the work cool under the glass weight. 2 or 3 minutes should cool it enough to bond completely and to handle easily. Now we can trim it flush, and it's done. This 8x10 photo has already been pre-dried and will be mounted with a border on an 11x14 pre-cut board. We'll position it so it won't require trimming after it's mounted. We'll use an 8x10 pre-cut sheet of color mount adhesive. To avoid touching the tacking iron directly to the surface of the photo, we'll use what's called the Z method of tacking. First, tack the adhesive to the back of the photo along one edge. Now, position the work in the exact place you want it, and tack the opposite edge of the adhesive to the board. That's why it's called the Z tacking method. As long as you handle it carefully, the photo will stay in place. Pressure's a bit low, isn't it? That's because we had it set for the thicker foam board used in the first example. No problem. We'll insert a shim made from scrap board to build up the thickness. It just slides in under the pressure board. It'll save you time. You won't have to readjust the press from job to job. Let's see how this one came out. Not bad. Pretty well positioned, too. But for a precise job, it's best to measure and trim after mounting. That's what we'll do with this 8x10 photo that needs to be mounted with a 2-inch black border. We'll use an oversized board as usual. But first, while pre-drying, we'll coat the back of the photo using an oversized piece of color mount. Use a protective board between the release paper and the sponge pad so the pad doesn't leave any pattern on the photo. And follow normal pre-drying procedures. You can use a paper cutter or a knife and straight edge. No chance of the adhesive showing now. We won't worry about precise positioning. We'll trim it to the exact size after it's mounted. When the work is ready, measure the border and trim. This technique yields a job that's much more accurate than the sample we saw previously. In this example, we're going to mount, then laminate a poster larger than the press by taking it in bites. We'll use an oversized board and archival mount adhesive, an acid-free, low-temperature, dry mounting tissue. Whoops, we goofed. Let's reposition again. This is a place where archival mount, a removable adhesive, has advantages over a permanent adhesive such as color mount. Since the work is larger than the press, we'll give you a tip. Replace the release folder with a separate sheet of release paper. Tuck it under the sponge pad to keep it in place. And use a sealed release board between the work and the platen. The board protects the work from picking up platen lines and keeps curled posters flat. While archival mount's recommended temperature is 175 degrees, you may need to increase that by 5 to 10 degrees, or give the work an extra minute or two to compensate for the thickness of the release board. Overlap the bites by 3 or 4 inches, and always work from the center out so you don't trap moisture and air. Also, support work that overhangs the press so it doesn't bow or flex. This is especially important with a section that's already been through the press, so the bond isn't disturbed. Once the work's had a chance to cool to room temperature, we can apply the laminate. Here, we'll use Seal Print Guard UV, a low-temperature vinyl film available in 4 finishes: luster, matte, canvas, and linen. Be sure to cut it oversize, large enough to cover the poster and adhesive. Peel back around 2 inches of the release liner. Carefully position the laminate and tack, smoothing from the center out to the edges. Now peel off the rest of the release liner, letting the film apply itself to the work. Finally, peel up the original tacked area, lift the laminate, and let it down smoothly. This gets rid of most of the wrinkles. Now smooth out the Print Guard UV film to remove as much trapped air as possible. Is any adhesive exposed? No. Good. Cover the work with a reusable sponge foam overlay from Seal, necessary for good lamination. It acts as a resilient buffer, so there are no skips due to irregular board surfaces or other imperfections. Print Guard UV films require a slightly higher temperature than mounting did. Again, we'll use the recommended temperature, or 225 degrees. Looks good. After trimming, it'll be ready for display. No glass or other protection will be necessary. Okay, in this last example, we're going to mount and laminate in one step. We can do that since the photo is relatively flat even without mounting first. The board and the color mount adhesive are pre-cut to size, so careful alignment is important. But use an oversized piece of print guard, large enough to cover the photo. Whenever you laminate a photograph, you have to perforate the laminate. Why? Because when you're working with paper artwork, air trapped between the laminating film and the art can escape through the paper. But laminating films and photographs are both plastic. Air can't pass through either one. By scoring the print guard films with the Seal perforator, you give the trapped air a way to escape. Perforating should be done on a smooth surface, like a piece of backing board. Make sure you work on the film side, not through the release liner. Use light pressure and roll front to back, then side to side. The holes should be around 1/8 to 1/4 inch apart. Now peel the entire release liner off. Then carefully position the print guard UV film and let the film apply itself to the photo. Then you can smooth out the film, cover it with sponge foam, and place it in the press. The print guard instruction sheet recommends 225 degrees for 4 minutes. That looks great, and your customer's going to think so too. Check your selection guide or the instruction sheet included with the material if you have questions on what temperature to use. The selection guide also gives you the preferred and alternative adhesives and laminates to use with many different art materials. The owner's manual that comes with your Seal mechanical press contains many procedural, adjustment, and maintenance tips to help you get optimal performance. It's a very useful tool, and it should be kept handy. And pick up a copy of Seal's handy book, Mounting, Laminating, and Texturing. It's full of supply specifications, ideas, and tips to expand your markets and profits. Your Seal mechanical press is built to turn out quality work day after day. All it takes is a bit of understanding on how the process works and a little attention on your part. Keep in mind the key points to successful performance from your mechanical press. Always keep the platen clean. Keep your work area clean, too. Remember, dirt is the biggest enemy of quality mounting and laminating. Check your release materials frequently for marks that can transfer to your work. Adjust the pressure or use shims to provide enough pressure for good bonding, but not more than necessary. Remove excess moisture from absorbent materials by pre-drying. This is especially important in humid areas. Check your selection guide for the recommended temperature to use and wait for the press to reach that temperature before mounting or laminating. Leave work in the press for enough time. Large pieces may take longer than smaller ones, especially on humid days. Keep plenty of sealed product on hand so you'll be ready to tackle any job, no matter how large. When it comes to mounting and laminating, seal is the name the framing, photographic, and display industries rely on. No other manufacturer offers the same combination of quality, versatility, and operating reliability. And no other source works as hard to make sure you realize the fullest profit potential from your investment.